international news. Israel and Hamas have agreed to phase one of a peace deal.
Yeah, President Trump says the hostages should be returned to Israel by either Monday or Tuesday. Joining us now to talk a little bit more about the deal, at least phase one that is John Hanna from the Jewish Institute for National Security of America and Will Taubman from the Center for Strategic and International Studies. John, I'm going to start with you. What do you make of this initial reaction, the deal being done and a ceasefire, at least according to the IDF, being implemented as we speak?
No, I think it's a huge accomplishment. It looks like after 2 years of agony that the Palestinian people, that these Israeli people and that these hostages have suffered through, we're going to get these hostages back. We've got a real chance now to end the war. And the President of the United States has put his full faith and credit and power and credibility on the line to try and advance a better day after for Israeli-Palestinian relations and the possibility of a much broader peace agreement that expands across the Middle East on the horizon. So it's a tremendous day to celebrate and to have some optimism finally after these 2 dreadful years of a really brutal war.
Will, what surprised you about the way that this peace deal came together?
Yeah, I think some of the contours of this deal have actually been discussed for some time. It's not that different to the deal that President Biden tried to put forward over a year ago. But I think what is interesting is that President Trump really has seized on this moment of leverage. He realized that he had, particularly after Israel's strike on Doha last month, and pushed ahead. And I think in tandem, he pushed some of the Arab states in the region that have ties with Hamas, whether that's Turkey, Egypt, Qatar, some of the mediators that we've seen, to also put pressure on Hamas in tandem. And I think that is what has got us over the line. And I actually think that I agree. I think this is a really great day. This could be the start of something very good. And I think we'll start to see some of the positive effects of this deal quite quickly. The hostages could be released as soon as Monday or Tuesday and reunited with their families. And then aid will start flowing into the Gaza Strip along a similar timeline. So I think we'll start to see the benefits of this very quickly.
We've seen these two sides come together before, negotiate, agree to something, only to have it broken. The IDF says, yes, a ceasefire has been implemented, but we will continue to take action when we feel threatened. John, is this time real? Do you get a sense that this thing can actually hold, given, to Will's point, there is so much international pressure being put on Hamas to abide by this deal?
Listen, you know, as you say, history is filled with peace deals that are now on the ash heap of history, and we've had so many dashed expectations in the Middle East. Hard to be optimism about the long-term prospects for a real serious peace between Israelis and Palestinians, but for the first time, again, I think given the fact that you've got, the United States fully behind a peace plan, and President Trump, who really is an X factor here, who carries so much power and influence in this region, not only with the Arab states, but with the Israelis, everybody wanting to be seen to be on his side, not to be seen opposing the president for fear of what he might be capable of doing in terms of exacting a cost, that we've got this possibility that we haven't had in a very long time, the thought that we might now be able to get to something better. Lots of difficulties, hurdles to overcome, but also I think just especially after 2 years of this awful war, the entire world wants to see progress. Everybody's breathing a sigh of relief. And I think, you know, if the president can stay engaged, stay on top of all the parties to hold them accountable, I think we've got a chance to make some progress.
Benjamin Netanyahu spoke out about this peace deal, rather. Let's hear what he had to say about this deal.
We fought during these 2 years to achieve our war aims. And the central one of these war aims is to return the hostages, all of the hostages, the living and the dead. And we're about to achieve that goal.
And as you know, Netanyahu is poised to meet today with Special Envoy Steve Witkoff along with Jared Kushner. What can we expect out of that meeting?
I think that they will begin to discuss some of the logistics of the next steps. We understand that the US is going to be contributing 200 troops to this coordination mechanism. They will not be on the ground in Gaza, but clearly the US is going to be continuing to play a close role and a deep role in trying to ensure that the terms of this ceasefire are upheld. So I think they'll be discussing those immediate steps right now. But then the attention will turn to some of those thornier issues, the disarmament of Hamas, the full withdrawal of Israeli troops from the Gaza Strip, and then the future questions about the governance of Gaza. Those are questions I think that the American mediators are going to be wanting to be closely discussing with the Israelis, but they're going to be very difficult. And I think there's still quite a gulf in between the Israeli government's view and Hamas's view on what those three issues should look like.
Oh, well, to that point, can you imagine a scenario? Is it a potential that we see a Gaza without any sort of Hamas influence?
I think that's going to be very difficult to achieve. I think Hamas has ruled in Gaza for a long time, and its influence is felt in many different ways. Of course, there's the military presence, but also the ideological presence. And so the process of de-radicalization, as President Trump's 20-point plan lays out, is going to be a really difficult one. And I think there will be very different interpretations of what it means to have no Hamas presence in Gaza. But interestingly, I don't think the plan actually fully calls for that. It does call for the disarmament, but it doesn't call for the expulsion of everybody who was affiliated with Hamas. There's an amnesty plan floated. So I think the negotiators are trying to create some space here for the implementation of a plan that's actually more credible. And my hope is that real progress will be made towards that.
There seem to still be some very clear divisions between both sides. Hamas hasn't agreed to completely lay down its arms. Netanyahu said he will never allow the creation of a Palestinian state. John, my question is, we're in phase one. What does a phase two and potentially phase three look like?
Well, phase two is going to be negotiating a lot of these issues that we've just discussed. Obviously, the disarmament of Hamas, who's going to compose this new non-Hamas Palestinian governing committee, who's going to really be part of this international stabilization force that is going to be able to go in and oversee the disarmament of Hamas. What happens if there are remnants of Hamas that refuse to lay down their arms and start again trying to reconstitute? What role will this international stabilization force versus the Israeli Defense Forces play in ensuring there's no Hamas reconstitution? It could all get extremely, extremely messy here. So lots of details to be thrashed out. But again, I can't stress enough the importance, the real importance of having the President of the United States as engaged as he's been for the last 3 weeks, and by sheer force of will, getting the parties to this phase one, which is a huge accomplishment in and of itself, even if we don't go any further. But in phase two, to really implement the rest of this plan, or to have a hope of doing it in a way that's acceptable to all sides, I think that the president's going to have to really stay on top of this. And that's difficult because he's got the entire world and all of America to have to worry about and govern.
All right, John Hanna, Will Taubman, guys, thank you so much for your input on this Friday morning. We certainly do appreciate it.